Hi, I'm Kelly Hogan, and welcome back to my Zero Carb Life. Today, I have JT Carnivore with me, and I just saw JT on Linda Salant's channel, and I loved the interview so much. I will link to the whole thing below, but there was a section, 4 to 7 minutes, that I just like honed in on. I thought, oh, I gotta talk to him like just about this. So if you want to hear his full story of how he went carnivore and some of the experiments that he's done, and there are many varied and cool experiments. That interview is great. He also has his own channel. He is a coach. I know not everybody out there cares about degrees, but he is a seasoned expert with a Bachelor of Science degree in sports medicine, Masters of Science. He was a collegiate athlete, a Division I coach, and a bodybuilding competitor. So he knows his stuff when it comes to physique. And today, I want to talk to him some about the topic of calories in general, but also why some folks see JT's experiments in which he may be eating 4,000 calories of meat per day and able to lose weight, and then they try to recreate it and it just doesn't work that way. Like, that feels so unfair. So, hi, JT, I'm so glad you're here today. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
What if I were to send you 10 clients who are struggling? And I know you've got clients like this, surely. Either menopausal, postmenopausal, long time dieters. That I think is a key to the issue. Cannot lose weight even without a single carb. They are tracking sometimes, right? And they say, why can I not lose weight? Does this just mean, it's genetic, calories don't count? You're just, for lack of a better word, you're just screwed. Are they? What would you do with them? Can you fix it? JT, could you fix it? And how?
It's tough, right? Because a lot of these people are trying to undo 30, 40, 50 years of metabolic damage they've put themselves through.
Yes.
And so the first thing, and something that's reiterated across, the fitness world is how long did it take you to put this weight on, right? Like if you put this weight on over the last 20 years, you can't expect to lose it in the next 6 months.
Right.
Now, the problem is people see those stories, right? They're like, oh my gosh, this person lost 100 pounds. Unfortunately, not everybody's the same, right? Not everybody's dealing with the same metabolic issues. In my experience, people who are in that situation, especially if they've gone carnivore, they're really low carb, they're under eating fat. And even if they're tracking, it's really easy to not calculate the proper amount of fat because you take 80, 20 ground beef, you cook it, you take it out of the pan, you're left with a puddle of, fat in the pan. Well, there's the majority of your fat. You're no longer eating 80, 20, you're eating 90, 10.
Yes. Very
So
common.
now,
Very
yeah, very
common.
common. So now you're low on your fat. And when you go no carb, low carb, fat is now your fuel source,
Yep.
right? You're basically under fueling everything. And that's a huge part of your hormones, right? Your hormones are going to be running off of this fat intake. So that's number one. Number two, I often find that people have just been under eating. And that's the problem with this calories in, calories out is it's all part of the move more, eat less, right? Like in order to get rid of obesity, we have to move more, we have to eat less. Well, here's the problem. If I am already eating at a low amount, people come in and they're like, I've been eating 1,400 calories. Where do you go from there?
Right.
You can't go lower.
No.
I mean, you could starve yourself, but you're going to, well, now what's the point? Like you lost 50 pounds and now you killed yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe literally, maybe figuratively. Like you're causing so many more problems. And people want to say that starvation mode's not a thing. Okay, well, maybe change the name of it, but it's literally metabolic downregulating. Like you
Yes.
have forced your body into this state of downregulation where you are now, and again, like we don't have a better term, but you're burning less than what you did before because your body is adapting to the state that you've put it in.
Yes.
And so I've had good success with getting people to gradually bump up. Some people call it priming. I don't like that term because some people use it loosely as just eat as much as you want and who cares if you gain any fat. And I don't think that's the way. I think the way is to gradually increase, see how your body responds. And people will often find that they can eat 500, 600, 1,000 more calories than they were
Yes.
and even start to lose weight or at least maintain. And
Yes.
then once you maintain and once you start getting back on this consistent eating, now you can work on dropping again and your metabolism has worked its way up. And I mean, it's a playing with your body's ability to adapt, right?
Yeah.
And so oftentimes it's more fat, more food. And that's scary for people to hear.
It sure is. I feel like that is the bulk majority of what I spend my time working with people trying to do is to say, first of all, let's just look, and I know TDEEs are not perfect, but what should, in a perfect world, someone who is your age, size, gender, and activity level be able to maintain their weight eating? And usually women see that number and it is a total pipe dream to them. They're like, yeah, right. I am maintaining on 1,000 calories, and this TDEE says I should be able to maintain at 1,700 calories. And I say, well, are you losing at 1,000? No. No, they're not losing anything except hair and sleep and energy and missing workouts and not having any good times with the spouse, right? They're missing out on all kinds of stuff, but they're not losing weight. So I'm with you, the reverse diet. And I prefer a slow reverse diet. First of all, the word priming implies that you are priming to do something. And in that case, they're priming to fast. And that's not a strategy that I take with most people because a lot of folks I work with, they have starved for too long. Fasting is not my goal for them, like eating. But if you do it quickly, I've had people come to me where they've gained 40 pounds in that process and they were already overweight. I love a slow reverse diet. If a person is willing, but it takes time. It's a tough sell sometimes. Yeah. Okay, so let's say you meet a willing, patient person, JT, and you can get them to slowly increase their calories. And if you do it slow enough, people can either, I see it all the time, lose while they do it because it's like their body can finally go, whew, all right, we're not dying. We can maybe let go of some of this or just maintain. That's still a win. They can increase by several hundred calories. When they get to where they can maintain at a very adequate and healthy level, at that point, what steps would you recommend they take? You mentioned doing a cut. Do you feel like 10 to 20% is pretty sustainable? Where do you go?
Yeah. So I do it based on their life considerations. Right. Like if somebody's like, I got to do a bodybuilding show, right, we're going to get super aggressive. If somebody's like, I've got to run around, I've got to keep up, I can't like be dying. So oftentimes, yeah, like 20%, especially if you can get your numbers up, will often go back similar to where they were when they first started, right? So for an example, if somebody comes in and they're like, I've been eating 1,500 calories, nothing is happening, right? I've
Yep.
been doing it for 6 months, nothing's happening. Okay, well, let's bump you up. Let's say we get you to 2,200 calories
Yes.
and you're basically staying the same, right? That's a win
Yes.
because if I can get you to a point where you're like, wow, I can, not have to be perfect. I can eat this much food. I can maintain, I can feel good. Well, now I know where I can live at, right? Like that's
Yes.
sustainable. So if we manipulate a couple, weeks at a time, 4, 5, 6 weeks at a deficit, right? People are going to be like, oh my gosh, deficit. You can't talk about deficits and surplus. Like you said, it's the only way we have measure,
I
right? I
know.
can't tell you, I can't tell you to eat 5 pounds of meat because you're like, well, that's a big difference because top round is a lot different than ribeye.
Yep.
Like,
Chicken or
so yeah,
pork belly? Which one are we talking about? Yeah.
we got to use it. But if I can get you to restrict down and you lose that weight and then you can bounce back up to where you were and maintain, well, now we can do this like slowly drop down and you're
Yes.
not killing yourself in the process and you know what your exit strategy is.
Yes. Yeah, and even if they were to get down to a point where they say, "Oh, now I'm not losing at 15 again. My metabolism readjusted." I tell folks, do it again. Slowly
It's
work
literally
your way
just
back
these.
up. You have trained your body to live on less, and we can train our bodies to live on more. I didn't just overnight go from what I was doing, which it has not been but maybe 2 years ago that if you had asked me what are your maintenance calories as a carnivore, I would have said 16 to 1800. That was true. I did maintain weight, almost the same weight at 16 to 1800 calories a day, because that's what I'd trained myself to do. And then I started hearing about reverse diet. I was like, well, I really like to eat. I love to eat, especially meat. So I want to eat more every day. So I started slowly working it up. And no joke, easily can eat 3 to 4,000 calories now, stay the same weight. But it does take some slow training to fix that, what people call slowed metabolism. But to me, I know it gets a lot of hate in this community, the slowed metabolism, but it feels fairly accurate. People are living like a hibernating bear. Everything has slowed, right, in function.
Well, people discredit the body's ability to adapt.
Mm.
And that's my biggest problem with the calories in, calories out is we just assume that the body's going to react exactly the same no matter what I give it.
Yeah.
One thing that stuck with me from this is literally first semester A&P, Anatomy and Physiology.
Okay.
One of the first classes I took in college is Wolff's Law. Now, Wolff's Law is usually attributed to like changes in bone, but what it is the body adapts to the stresses that are put upon it. And what that shows up is you can take somebody's skeletal remains and they can tell you what they did for a living based on how their bodies, based on how their bone structure changed. So like a laborer would have, thickened bone in the bottom of their legs because that's what they did every day. So the body adapted in order to meet that demand, which is what strength training is, right?
Yes.
I apply stresses to it, the body adapts to meet it, and then you try to progressively overload. Our metabolism works the same way, right? Like if I consistently put myself in a suboptimal, low caloric environment, my body's going to do whatever it can to regulate itself down
Yes.
in order to match what it is getting. The same way goes when you increase your calories. My body is going to attempt to regulate up, right? Like I might do more of this stuff, non-exercise activity, right? Which I do a lot, right? Like I
Just
jazz hands,
moving, being active,
right?
moving, bouncing.
That's my
When women
body.
sit and we bounce our legs and bounce our legs, right? Like that's movement.
That's my body burning excess
Hmm.
in ways that aren't exercise, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
little movements. And people will literally stop, like that will slow down, right? So now I'm not burning as much. I'm not, using as much energy. I tested that with my latest experiment. The first time I went through, I only made it 3 weeks doing 4,000 calories because I literally couldn't eat anymore. Like I was drinking melted butter shakes to get my calories in because I literally just could not eat anymore. The next time around, I was like, what if I gradually do it? Right. So
Yeah.
I did 3,000 calories for 2 weeks, and then I did 3,500 calories for 2 weeks, and then I did 4,000 calories for 2 weeks. And the 4,000 calorie leg was easy. I was like, this is super easy.
Huh.
Like, so as long as I like gradually get myself up, and this time around, I didn't lose weight. I literally stayed the same. Partly because I started the experiment 10 pounds lighter than the first time,
Yeah.
but I literally just, I think I lost like 2 pounds at 3,000 calories, and then 3,500 calories stayed the same.
Okay.
4,000 calories stayed the same. 4,500 calories stayed the same. And it just further reinforced that if you like gradually, what you're talking about, if you gradually
Yes.
work that up, your body is going to regulate. Well, guess what? Now, so that this is for me, I'm not saying I do this for clients, but in an extreme situation where I really want to cut down, if I'm eating 4,000 calories for a couple weeks,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden I eat 2,000 calories for a couple weeks, just like I will dice up like it's no tomorrow because my body's like, oh, we're used to this, we're used to this, we're used to this. And yeah, I
Yes.
might feel a little bit hungry, but at 4,000 calories, I'm like maxing out. If I'm doing it consistently, I'm maxing out what my body needs, right? So my body's almost like, yeah, we're good. You can take a break for a little bit. I don't really need to do this. And then I cut down. I feel totally fine,
Yeah.
and I just drop weight like crazy.
Awesome. But now you're doing it at 2,000 calories. When people are
Yeah. So
starting out at 1,500, you can't do that. Yeah,
yeah.
you've given yourself headroom. And that's what I tell people. Keep working yourself up so you've got headroom. So then a cut doesn't feel like a cut. It feels like a paper cut,
Yes.
right? Not like you've been slashed with a sword. Yeah, I like that. That was the primary thing I wanted people to hear was the reverse diet process from somebody who's done it with yourself many times with clients where you've studied it, you've got the classes under your belt, you understand the science behind the reverse diet. I know it works. I just couldn't tell you why. I just know it works. I've used it again with myself. So many clients, I see it. And people are shocked. I've increased my calories and they will very often even lose weight in the process. I tell them don't expect it. Mathematically, this should not be. But It sometimes happens. Okay, what else? What else could we tell folks who are watching right now? They say, "All right, I'm possibly willing to reverse diet." I hear you both. Other other things that you would do if you had this desperate person who is still overweight, they're carnivore, they're willing to reverse diet.
So I think people also need to be real with themselves. Oftentimes you'll find stuff in your diet that are little concessions. People will keep these little things. Like I've talked to people who are like, yeah, I just eat a little bit of chocolate every day. And conceptually, that shouldn't matter, right? But I'm convinced that if you keep these small, like hormonal disrupting foods while you're trying to get healthy,
Yeah.
that it's going to limit your progress. If you were to talk to me 2 years ago when I first started and I ate a bunch of crap, it was not going to go well, right? Like I wasn't as metabolically healthy. I was overweight. I had some things I had to work through, right? Once I got to the point where I am now, I I could literally eat whatever I want for multiple weeks and then be able to bounce back,
Yeah.
right? Because of this position I'm in. But I didn't get here by continuing to, indulge into these foods that I know are not good for me. And so it sounds like people are like, wait, what are you saying? I'm saying get rid of all the junk, right? Like,
Right.
don't keep these little things in your diet. Do those later, right? Like, if you really have to have those later on, get yourself healthy first,
Okay.
right? So be real with yourself, know what you're eating. I don't like to, we like to not have to track calories, but if you don't know what you're eating, track. You have to know, at least conceptually, what you're
Yeah.
doing.
Yep.
Eat enough fat and then stay consistent. It's the people that fall off, right? They're like, I did it for a week and then I fall off the wagon. And then I did it for a week, then I fall off the wagon. Give yourself a month, give yourself 6 weeks, 2 months, and just do it
Yep.
and then see where you're at.
Yeah. So to get ourselves metabolically healthy, I know some of this is going to seem like, well, duh, but all right, you said avoid all the junk, just do it. I agree. Give yourself a chance to feel better and to start to heal. Get that metabolism rev back up by eating a little more, reverse diet. I'm assuming that lifting weights and movement are always going to be a
It's
recommendation.
huge.
It's
Yeah.
huge.
Like the muscle mass is the number one predictor of longevity,
Yep.
like straight up.
Yes.
And nobody has, you don't have to do bodybuilding, but you got to move, right? And this is, the gym is a new concept in terms of where we are as humans. That's because we don't do physical labor.
Right.
Like the majority of us sit. Like I do 4,000 steps a day. I don't move very much. And that's commonplace. So people just got to move. Got to get out and move. Like we were not designed to just sit here behind a desk and then go home and sit on the couch and like that. You weren't meant to do that. You were meant to move. You were meant to walk places. You were meant to like have to go get your food, have to, hunt your food, all of these things. And so if we're not doing that in our day to day, then you got to go to the gym, right? You've got
Yeah.
to do some stuff at home. You've got to go out on a walk. You've got to move.
Right. I agree. Sleep, you think it matters?
It's huge. Sleep is huge. It's another thing. We don't sleep enough, right?
Yeah.
We inundate ourselves, and I'm the worst one. Like I'm on my phone in bed before I go to sleep, but we inundate ourselves with these phones dopamine, right? Like you
Yep.
literally just are feeding yourself with dopamine. You can talk about the fact that you're exposing yourself to all this blue light before bed, all of these disruptors, and then we're not sleeping very good. We're over caffeinated. We don't eat very well. We're overstressed. And now you just end up with all of these issues. So sleep is huge.
Yeah.
They've done studies where just how much you sleep can dictate how much weight you lose.
Oh,
Which is
yeah.
another one because like Seco Bros will be like do a study on this. They'll be like, hey, check out this study. And I'm like, yeah, it didn't matter what they ate. Like it's sleep. Sleep was the
In the
confounding
same
variable.
calorie deficit, both groups, the same deficit.
Yeah.
The sleep deprived group lost muscle and did not lose body fat. And the group who was getting the 7.5 hours of sleep in this particular study, it was 5.5 hours versus 7.5 minimum hours. Same deficit, they were able to build muscle and lose body fat. It's not just the calories. Sleep affects our hormones. Yeah. Cortisol is a killer if you're trying to drop body fat. Cortisol being just constantly chronic stress state, that is. Yeah, and under eating will contribute to that. If a person, I know, I'm saying this to you like you don't know. I know you
So,
know.
so will
I
overdoing
think,
cardio.
yes, on and on cardio, on and on chronic under eating, no sleep, chugging coffee, and we think, why can't I lose weight? Your body's just trying to not die. That's what I think it
Yeah.
is. You're not going to
Like,
lose body fat.
but people have to understand there might be something that you have to give up,
Yeah.
right? And maybe that's giving up your Netflix show so you can sleep more. Maybe that's putting your phone down earlier so you can sleep better. Maybe that's giving up coffee so you're not like this all day. Maybe that's giving up some of your favorite foods. Maybe that's whatever it is. You are probably going to have to give up multiple things and you're going to have to give it up consistently,
Yes.
right? Like people want to talk about how food's not addicting, but you don't, we have these different views, right? Like tobacco's addicting. You don't tell somebody, well, just smoke one cigarette a day.
Right.
Or alcohol, right? You don't go to an AA meeting and they're like, you know what? If you guys just buy the mini bottles, you'll be totally fine, right? Stop doing it,
Yeah, just
right?
moderate it, guys. What's the
We do that
problem?
with everything, right? Like I know you love cocaine, but just try doing a little bit of it and don't buy as much, right? Then you'll be totally fine. No, we just say stop. Like, and then we
Yes.
help people figure out how they can overcome that.
Yeah.
But food, we go, just do it a little bit, just moderate. Just as long as 80% of your diet's good,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine if you're healthy. I can do that. I can do 80% carnivore, 20% junk and be totally fine. Over a number of years, it might catch up to me, but right now I can do that. 2 years ago, I couldn't. And that's why I was 35 pounds overweight.
Mm.
People just need to understand if you want to change something, you have to change something, and you are probably going to have to give something up.
Yeah. And then look for all of the, I try to encourage people instead of this fear of missing out. I'm missing out on this. Truly, what we typically get back in return. My word, I've given up a lot of things through the years. Would I trade any of it back for how I used to feel? Not at all, right? Like I got so much life. I got my children, fertility back and just feeling good every day. So it was a very fair trade. But until a person has gone through it and has time to receive some of those rewards, it just feels like loss, loss, loss. I'm giving up everything for what? Give it a little time. Okay, let's think back. We're gonna try to wrap this up and summarize. If a person has been chronically under eating for a really long time, they may need to work on that issue before they do a cut. You and I both know that calories is not the perfect way to call this. It's just the best way we have to talk about it. I've told people call it Bob if you want. How many Bobs are you going to eat per day? I don't know. Like, if it makes you less triggered, call it anything, but I'm going to go with calories because it's the easiest. Once they're up to maintenance, they can do a cut. What they are eating matters more than how much, always, though. So I should have put that first. Cut out the junk that's going to keep your insulin spiked or glucose spiked. Eat whole foods, preferably meat, let's be honest. And once a person is doing that and they have gotten up and they've considered a cut, then they should always consider moving their body, building muscle, which will make your metabolism work even better, getting sleep. We didn't mention stress management, but we talked about how when the body is doing all of these things, no sleep, not enough food, cardio, 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 it is stressful. So dealing with life stress as well. Anything else you want to say to folks before we go?
I think people don't look at like the totality of everything talked about and be like, that's overwhelming. Like, how am I
Mm.
supposed to do all of these things? The first thing I tell people is give up processed food. Like,
Yeah.
get rid of processed food. Like, I don't care what diet you want to do. There is no way you're going to convince me. And when I say processed, I'm talking about ultra processed food. Like people go, oh, but the moment you pick an apple off of a tree, it becomes processed. But like,
Boy,
stop. You know what
bye.
I'm talking about. You
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about. Stop.
Yes.
The people want to say no good food or bad food. Like it's just not food. And you cannot convince me that back, when we started processed foods, like processed foods essentially started around the Great Depression, right?
Okay.
And then we had to find a way to manufacture a life-sustaining sustenance for a small amount of money. And then we realized that we could continue to make it and It was profitable. So we figured out how to work it in. And since then, we have had so many health issues. You cannot convince me that it is not our food supply, which is 71% ultra processed foods.
Mm,
71% of the food supply in the United States is ultra processed food.
yeah.
And yet, diabetes is skyrocketing, obesity is skyrocketing. People want to talk about the death rate from heart disease. Cool. We keep people alive. The rate of heart disease is staying on pace with our rate of population expanding. Heart disease is increasing. All of these things, the presence of ADHD in our kids, the presence of autism, like all of these things are continuing to get worse. And it's not because we're undereducated. It's not because we're not spending money on healthcare. We spend more money on healthcare than the number 2 country, like twice as much. We spend more money on health and fitness than the other 9 top 10 countries combined.
Mm,
We spend more on pharmaceuticals than almost the rest of the world combined. We are spending so much time and effort on trying to get healthy, and yet we're getting worse.
yeah.
And it's because of our food. I will argue this till the day I die. Can you be healthy while eating garbage food? Yes. But if you inundate a population with garbage food, with garbage ingredients that don't need to be there, you don't need seed oils and shredded cheese, right? You don't need this. If you continue to do this and people continue to get sicker and we continue to find more problems, even with advances in medical technology, right? Like the only reason our life expectancy is increasing is because we're able to keep people alive.
Yeah.
People don't die from their first heart attack anymore.
Right.
50 years ago, you had a heart attack, you died. Just what happened. Now, most people don't die from their first heart attack. That's not because we're getting healthier. Like our life expectancy is still terrible. I think
Yes.
we're like 35th in the world in life expectancy, which like life expectancy and socioeconomic status are like the biggest correlation.
Yes.
And yet here we are in socioeconomic status and here we are in life expectancy.
Yeah.
What? Like it's mind blowing. So, I know I rambled a lot. Get rid of processed
Yeah.
food.
Right.
Like the amount of change people will get from just doing that one thing is life altering. And then once you do that, you're like, man, I feel better. I have a little more energy. I feel like I could go to the gym. Well, now going to the gym's easy because you have this energy. You want to do something with it.
Yeah.
And then you start going to the gym and then you're more tired at night and you're like, man, I feel like I could sleep. And then you sleep better. And then you wake up feeling better. And then it's just, right?
Yes.
You don't have to do all these things at once. It's an avalanche. Just start with your food and then progress from there.
Oh, I like that advice so much. The domino effect. Yes, I feel better, so I can move more. And now I'm tired. And now I feel even better the next day because I slept. That's good stuff. I like you a lot, man. I'll tell you, I saw a video. I already found you entertaining and educational, but just recently you had a video of a couple of guys who were saying you can't believe in God or believe the Bible and eat meat. And as soon as I saw them talking, I didn't realize it was your clip that you were going to pop up on. I was like, what in the world? And then you came and it was like biblical smackdown. It was so good. And I was like, is he a Christian too? Are we Christian carnivores together? You confirmed. I was like, okay, I'm a fan. So I'm going to link to that little clip. I know some people right now will want to see that. It was what, 1 minute?
Yeah.
Yeah, short, an Instagram reel. But I hope folks who follow me, I don't think we have a lot of overlap, to be honest, even though it's the carnivore space.
Which
And
is crazy.
it's
Like,
crazy. But I would like to
yeah.
change that. So if you're watching this channel today, this is JT. I'm going to link to his stuff. He's really, I think you could probably tell from today, kind, well balanced, but very knowledgeable. So thanks for bringing that to the channel today. And
I appreciate you having
I'm
me on.
happy to finally talk with you. I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds
Bye.
good.